Hello, everyone. I am very happy to be invited by Nicole to give an introduction and explanation to the chapter 6 of the book, Designing Global Value Chain. So, what is a global value chain? A global value chain describes the entire process of producing, delivering, and selling goods and the services on a global scale. So let's imagine a chain of companies working together to create and deliver chocolates. Farmers in Ghana would grow cocoa trees and harvest beans, and then these beans are selected, processed, and then sent to factories in Germany where they're made into chocolate bars. And then after that, the bars are packed and then shipped to stores to Japan or UK. And then the local stores promote and market them, for example, in Christmas, and then people would buy them. Each step from the farm to the factory to the stores involves different companies, each adding value to the product. And the chain can be short with just a few steps or long with many players across the countries, all working together to bring the final products to the customers. Now we can illustrate it more with an example of the offshore wind, the global value chain. You can think of it as a business ecosystem with the upstream, midstream, and downstream activities. So the upstream activities would focus on raw materials and components and designing, and the midstream activities include planning, designing, and production. The downstream activities include marketing, sales, and after-sales services. So on upstream side, companies provide raw materials such as steel, rare earths, and components like blades or cables, wind turbines, and foundations. These materials are essential for manufacturing the key components and infrastructure required for the offshore wind farms. And then in the midstream stage, it includes, for example, installing the turbines, anchoring the turbines to the seabed, using foundations to ensure their stability, and connecting them to offshore transformer substations via the interarray cables. And then here the voltage is elevated, and then the elevated electricity will be transmitted through the cable export cable to the cable landing point. Here it marks the transition from underwater to underground cables, and the onshore substation would connect the export cable to the power grid. And then in the downstream stage, the electricity is integrated into the national or regional grid, making it accessible for distribution to homes and businesses. Utility companies handle the marketing, sales, and distribution of electricity. Customer services and ongoing maintenance, all these things fall under downstream activities to ensure the reliable delivery of the power to the end users. So these are the stages needed. In each stage, you would have different roles and companies. For example, a typical Norwegian offshore wind global value chain would probably, for example, have developers like Equinor for the investment and development. And then you would have research institutions like SINTEF or NTNU for the research and technology. And you would have companies like Kongsberg for the vessels and maritime equipment. And you have Aker Solutions for the cables and Jotun for the anti-erosion painting. And then you will have companies like StormGeo for the forecasting solutions. And you have DNV for providing certification and safety standards. And when the wind farms have reached the end of life phase, you also have Aker Solution again for the decommissioning or the recycling of the parts. Now, noticing managing the global value chain and global supply chain is very different. A supply chain focuses on the logistic and physical flow of the physical goods, like getting the cocoa beans from the farms to the factory, and then ship them to the stores. They care about being fast. They want to reduce the costs in moving the goods from suppliers to the customers. And in contrast, a value chain is broader. It looks at how value is added at each stage. They don't just look at logistics. For example, in the chocolate value chain, companies might differentiate themselves by using, for example, high quality beans. They would create unique recipes, or they would invest in ethical sourcing to appeal to their customers. So their customers would be more willing to pay for higher price So it's about creating something unique to add value and to make profits. So now we have familiarized ourselves with some examples. We can maybe try to explain it using theoretical framework. So here we have a very important person, Michael Porter. So he is an American academic. In 1985, he used the idea to show how companies can add value to their raw materials to produce products that are eventually sold to the public. So on the right side, you would see that there are primary activities and then there are support activities. Primary activities include inbound logistics, getting materials and suppliers needed for the production. And you have operations where you turn the materials into finished products or services. And you have outbound logistics where you deliver those products to customers. And you have marketing and sales to promote and sell the products. And then for the services, you provide customer support and after-sale services. So these are the core steps in creating and delivering products or services. And then here you have the support activities, including the firm infrastructure. They provide the management and supporting functions for the entire value chain. Human resources management, where the people can recruit, train, and managing the employees. And then technology development for the innovating and improving the process and products. And then you have procurement management to ensure the cost saving, and then quality control to make sure the whole supply chain can be efficient. So these activities provide the foundation and resources needed for those core activities to function effectively. And then together, they make up the entire value chain of a company's operations. So remember, the value chain is not a collection of independent activities. Rather, it is a system of interdependent activities within the company. Decisions made in one value activities, for example, in the inbound logistic, is very important for the operations. If you buy low quality products, and then it will influence your operation, it will further influence your marketing and sales, and then your customer will not be happy, and then you will have problem in customer services. So clear communication and coordination between and across the value chain activities are therefore just as important as the activities themselves. A firm needs to optimize the links between the activities to create value in an efficient way. Sometimes the services are referred to as the glue that holds value chain activity together and ensure that they function in a fluid manner. So the identification of all the individual activities of the value chain that will make up the full value of the product is not trivial at all. It is actually very, very important. So with Porter's value chain framework, we're looking at activities within the firm to improve competitiveness. But the framework can also be extended to local, regional, or global level. Then to understand the activities involved in the value chain, we further differentiate the 4 levels of aggregation: tasks, occupation, stages, and then products. We can take foam manufacturing as an example. Tasks are specific activities for jobs involved in making, let's say, a foam. And then designing the foam's hardware is one task. Creating the physical structure is another type of tasks. Developing the foam's software, programming the operating system, different tasks. Assembling components, putting together screen, battery, different tasks. Testing the foam's functionality, checking if it works properly, all different type of tasks. And then for the occupation group related tasks together. So for example, the design engineer, they include tasks related to designing the foam's hardware, and then you have the software developer include tasks that in creating the foam's softwares, and you have assembling technicians includes tasks related to putting together foam's components. And you have stages. Stages are clusters of occupation and tasks. So, for example, in foam manufacturing, the design and development stages include designing engineers or software developers. And then you have the production stage, where you would have assembling technicians or quality control inspectors. So these are all different stages, occupation, and tasks that are important for a value chain. But different stages have different values added to the products. We can look at Nokia's value chain and see the value added in different stages. For example, in the miners, refiner, raw material traders, component vendors, assemblers, these stages add around 11% of the value to the entire products. And you have the software licensors, because in order for a phone to use, you need to have pre-stored softwares, or like Android system or applications like, for example, YouTube or Snapchat. These are the things needed for a phone. They add 3% to the total value of this. And then you have Nokia. Nokia responds for manufacturing, assembling, innovation, marketing, financial and administrative services, and management functions. These add to 50% of the value. So most of the value of these final products are created here with the Nokia in Finland and other European countries. So they're dominant in the branding, development, designing, and management. So we can see that the value are not evenly distributed in all the stages. So in business management theory, we have this smiling curve phenomenon. It is a graphical depiction visualizing where the most value is added along the production process of a product or services. So this kind of smiling curve, you can see it in many industries. We can take pharmaceutical industry, for example. The upstream activities, like the high-income countries like United States, Switzerland, or the UK, they have the major pharmaceutical companies and research institutions. They conduct extensive R&D activities, including the drug discovery or the clinical trials or the regulatory approvals. For example, Pfizer and leading pharmaceutical companies, they conduct their R&D activities in the United States mostly. And then in the midstream activities, where the least value is added, many pharmaceutical companies, they would outsource a portion of their manufacturing process to the emerging economies with lower labor or the production costs, like India or China. And then in the downstream stages, these high value added stages are usually dominated by the high income countries. The driving force behind this dispersion or behind this curve is the huge wage or cost differences in different locations. So for labor intensive stages where little value is added, companies would usually go for low cost locations, like, for example, Asia. And also but in the skill or technology intensive stages, companies will usually go to the European or the US countries where they can benefit from the technology. So, but in recent years, international companies in advanced economies are facing challenges from the new companies from emerging markets. For example, the phone industry. We have firms from emerging markets like Huawei from China. They started in the lower value added part, but now they have recently developed strong in both the upstream side and the downstream side. In 2018, they have made over 5,000 patent applications to the WIPO. That's more than any other organizations in the world. And then they are also increasingly adding their investment in the market campaign and the PR. So the situation is changing, and this shift challenges established players to be more agile and forward thinking. And then management students like you can also ask yourself, how can we adapt and then create values in a world where yesterday's suppliers can actually be tomorrow's competitors? So these are the things that is really interesting and worth thinking about. Thank you for joining this section for the exploration of the global value chain. I hope this inspires you a little bit, and then I will see you in the next section.